Hi guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. Here for UFC Vegas 50, Thiago Santos against Magomed Ankalaev is our main event. Sorry I'm a little bit late. My son was kind of crying his eyes out and had to make sure that everything was okay there before I started. Yeah, going to try and get through this fairly quickly. I'm not feeling the greatest. My voice isn't very great, but looking to really keep the good run, a good picks going, the good bets going specifically. Had a really good night. UFC 272. I think it was just under 8 units. Cashed a couple of nice little fun prop parlays. If you follow me on Twitter, it was like a £5 5-fighter parlay to win by decision. I think most of it came away with 450 quid, which was nice. So looking to kind of keep that going. A really big night for bets, like I say, for myself at the weekend, and I'm up about 21 units in the year so far. So just looking to kind of keep the train going. And this week, I think there's some good fights. Looking forward to the main event, just to see Ankalaev again, see if he is the real deal going forward. A lot of people have put a lot of stock in this guy. I've kind of pettered throughout. I still think he's a very good talent, but I want to see just a little bit more. And he's facing the forever dangerous Thiago Santos here. And overall, like I said, I like the card. I like the main card. I think it's a very fun main card. And the prelims, what I like about it, I think there's a lot of dogs on the prelims you could like. There's some new fighters coming in, which there's not much out there on them, but they've got big dog tags next to their name, big dog money lines there that you could potentially look into. But overall, really like the main card. The prelims, there's like 7 or 8 fights down in there, so there's a lot of fights to get through. So we're going to get into that. And before you do, just thank you. There's been a load of new subscribers come on. Thank you very much for that. If you can throw a thumbs up in the video, and if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, you'll be notified when I come on here as well. So we're starting off in the light heavyweight division with Tefon and Chukwi against Azamat Murzakanov, a newcomer who's coming into the UFC here, who is a guy I knew a little bit about before he came into UFC, with wins over like Guto and Assange was one of the ones I think he fought over there in Brave. I think this is a tough matchup to start off with here. This was a guy I was looking at betting, I think, last month. I can't remember the guy he was supposed to face, but I was thinking about parlaying him up, and then he got pulled out. I think it was due to visa issues. Got rescheduled here against Tafon and Chukwi, and it's an interesting matchup because Tefon the Don is a guy that is very, you would think he would gas out. He's very kind of low volume, first of all. You would think that he's a guy that would kind of gas out, but he kind of maintains his pace all the way throughout, and I quite like that, honestly. And he's what, 3-1, 2-1 in the UFC, with 3-1 overall with the kind of UFC with a contender series. Got that big knockout in the second round against Mataveo, which is not really saying an awful lot. Came into the UFC, beat Jamie Pickett. Say what you want about Jamie Pickett, he's not one of the more standout guys, but he's a guy that's worked himself up to a co-main event in the UFC already. Got a nice win there, just really outstruck him. Maintained a good distance out, which is really just picking him away. Faced Jungyoung Park next time out. That was a very kind of close fight, but I think the takedowns really did win it for the Iron Turtle there. And then Mike Rodriguez. I mean, Mike Rodriguez is not good. He kind of mixed it all well. He mixed it all together very well in that fight there, where he got some takedowns, but he had a lot of strikes in that fight as well. And you've got Azamat there, who's coming off 10-0 record, undefeated guy, southpaw, coming off the first round KO against Mateusz Scheffel, who's not the greatest, honestly. They really just knocked him down and put him out there in the first round. Like I say, he's beaten some guys out there which are recognisable on his record. I think that if this, I'm interested to see, because I don't think Azamat's been 3 rounds before. I think in that Brave tournament, he fought a couple of guys in the same night. I think it's Mohamed Fahereddin, I think is how you pronounce it. That guy I rate quite highly. So getting a win over that guy, I think, is a good staunch look at him, saying like, this guy can beat decent guys, and especially beat a couple of decent guys in the same night as well. But he's not been 15 minutes, so I'm interested to see how early on this looks, because he's going to come out here, and I do think he's going to go pretty hard at Tefon and Chukwi and see if he can get him out of there. Now, if this kind of wheels into end of round 2 into round 3, then Tefon could come out here and maybe look like a decent dog in this spot. I'm going to go with Azamat. I think that he's got enough in his all-around game to win this one, but it could become a little bit too close for comfort. I don't think I'm going to have any action on this fight, but I'm going to pick Azamat to win maybe his first decision. I'll go and pick him out in the decision, but I've got some question marks about him going 15 minutes. Chris Matino at 9-5 faces off against Guido Canetti 8-7. Very kind of low-level matchup. I'm having nothing to do with this fight. I've seen some tweets and some people message me saying like Chris Matino's like a favourite in the UFC, and I'm like, yeah, I think that'll become a pick-em very, very soon. So if you want to bet the Canetti side, then go for it. But there's not a lot to love really off the Canetti side. A nearly 500 record, 42, 43 years old. I think he's got a chance to win this fight. I think he comes out super strong. He's got some power there. He can drop you with that power. And we've seen that Matino, he can absorb a lot of shots without really getting dropped. Surprisingly, like O'Malley really, really put it on him, but he just never went down at all until the last 10 seconds or so of that fight. But Canetti, I expect him to really come out here and fight like his job depending on him, because he's lost 3 in a row. Chito Vera, Batgarel, and Mana Martinez. I mean, he had a chance in that Martinez fight to really maybe win that one, but he went to a split. I think the right side definitely was Martinez. It's hard really being confident in this pick here. Matino, he's tough. I haven't seen a hell of a lot of wrestling out of him. I think there was one fight I remember seeing where I did see that he wrestled quite a little bit and then he shot a couple of takedowns. But outside of that, I think if he was to do that, he might put himself in trouble with like the kind of guillotines of Canetti, which I've seen him go for in the past. He's got triangle chokes way back in the day. I mean, I'm not going to pick a guy who's 2-5 in the UFC. I'll take a pick on Moutinho, but would it surprise me if he got blasted out here, like losing the first round, gets caught in a submission, gets hurt with something? No. Pick's going to be Moutinho. No confidence whatsoever in that one. Moving on, where are we? Dalcha Lungiambula against Cody Brundage. This is a spot where I think if you could have got Dalcha at dog money, it would be a decent spot, but it's hard to really be super confident in Dalcha with the simple reason he just doesn't throw all that much. And he could kind of get pushed to the limit here by Cody, who's very aggressive, very, very forward-thinking, will look to get takedowns, will look to get the fight to the mat. But when I look at the matchup, Dalcha's got those judo hips, he's got the judo background. He is smaller for this weight class, and he is smaller in this matchup outside of the reach. But Cody is going to spam takedowns. That's what he does. He did that in the Dana White Contender Series. It didn't really work to his avail when he lost to William Knight. He really gassed himself out in that spot and then got taken out. Went a respectable 15 minutes with Nick Maximov, who I actually think is a really good prospect. And he's one of these all-out grapplers that can just sprawl on you for 15 minutes, put you in a bad position and stay dominant. And that's what he did in that fight. He got four or five takedowns, I believe, and just ultimately just kind of won the rounds. I like Dalcha in this fight. I've seen a couple of people message me thinking, I quite like Brundage. I think he's a little bit too early in his UFC tenure, honestly. I think that he should have stayed out there in the regionals, won some fights. I think that if he matured a little bit, he could have been fairly decent and maybe a little bit dominant in the UFC. I like Dalcha. The only thing I don't like is obviously he doesn't throw a hell of a lot. Coming off that loss to Marc-Andre Barrio, he did get a couple of kind of reactionary takedowns in that fight there. Wins over Marcus Perez and Daquan Townsend. It's not really saying a hell of a lot. And the guy, like I say, he's got explosive power, so he could hit you at any point in the fight and hurt you. I actually think Dalcha can get Cody out of here. I think Cody's going to spam in these takedowns and just absolutely like gas himself out. I think he's been at Factory X, which is good, working with Dustin Jacoby in Colorado. Hopefully that'll help his gas tank. But I've thought that in the past, and people still gas out a little bit. So I think he's just going to come forward. I don't think he's going to get Dalcha down. And I think on the feet, I think Dalcha can just kind of pick and prod a little bit and maybe catch him with a big shot. So I've got Dalcha to win inside the distance there. But like I say, not really another fight I really want to have much on. Sabina Mazo against Miranda Maverick is up next. So I've parlayed Miranda Maverick up for this card with a guy on the main card here. I was looking at a parlay to parlay the guy that I liked in the main card, and I was like, there's also people in the main card that I like that I could parlay up, but I was looking for that matchup where I thought it could look quite easy, and I think this is one of the ones where Miranda Maverick could make this look quite easy. Sabino Mazo, I think she will definitely have the striking advantage, but like I said last week, she's so flat-footed and she's not got the greatest reactions in the world. Like I said, I like her reaching this one here. I think she can use that to her advantage. She's obviously got nice kicks, but she's very hittable herself. I think she can be clinched up and she can be muscled around a little bit. And I think that's what Miranda Maverick is going to do. Now, the betting line, don't like it. I do think it's high. I think that we've seen Miranda Maverick in spots like this where she's been a higher number and she's still not looked overly dominant. She doesn't really play up to the number. I got it minus 275. I don't really like it, but in the spots all around the card, this was the spot that I thought as a parlay piece was maybe what I liked today was that, and I bet that this morning. I like the fact, like I say, I've been against Miranda Maverick in her last two fights. I've bet on Maycee Barber. I've bet on Erin Blanchfield where she got blanketed in that fight, and Blanchfield is someone we need to look out for. She maybe could have got the nod in the Barber fight. It was very close. I think a lot of people are calling robbery, as they do. But I thought Maycee Barber justifiably won that fight. And like I say, I think that she's got a really good opportunity here to, I don't want to say look dominant, because she's not really did that. Even in the Joe Dura fight, she was still getting hit up a little bit and didn't like that all too much. And like I say, she got blanketed against Blanchfield. She, like I say, I thought the more meaningful strikes were on the Barber side in that fight. Gillian Robertson, she got taken down a few times. Like, if you watch the very first video of her coming at the UFC, Maverick, I'm not high on her. A lot of people were higher on her than I was. I don't see it. I thought there was a lot of holes in her game. But since then, if you watch her Invicta days to now, I think her striking has come on leaps and bounds. I think it's something here where she could look fairly decent against Mazo on the feet, but I wouldn't like to see her in a 15-minute kickboxing match with Sabina Mazo. I think she needs to muscle up here. I think she is the stronger fighter. I think she can get takedowns, and that's where I see her kind of winning the fight. Like I say, don't like the number, but I've got her here. I mean, Alexis Davis muscled this girl to the ground. We've seen Marina Moraes, Justine Kish get her down. I think if she can get her down in spots in this fight, she can have a dominant top game and win the rounds through that. So I'm pretty confident that Miranda Maverick can get it done. Don't like the betting line, but I do think she can get it done 30-27, maybe even a close 29-28, but I do like her in this spot here. I like the fact as well she's moved out to Denver full-time. I don't think she's working in the school right now. If you're going on Instagram, the stories that I've seen, she's in the gym every day with your Tisha Torres, with your J.J. Aldrich, who's on this card, with Mallory Martin, who used to be in the UFC. So she's been putting in good looks with people. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of seeing it. Like I said, I've never been overly high on her, but a lot of people have. I think there's better prospects out there than her, but I like her in this fight here. Damon Jackson against Kamula Kirk. I mean, Kamula Kirk, I thought he was impressive in his debut, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see... I don't know. It's hard for me. It was against Makwan and Mercani. That's a good win. Makwan, he gets everyone down. He did that in that fight, but he just kind of really did. He really fought his heart out, and he did the exact same in the Billy Quarantile fight in that first round. Come out there, fought his heart out, got a couple of nice takedowns, but as the fight went on, he kind of really just pettered out a little bit, and that's kind of what happened in the Quarantile fight. In the Makwan fight, he really just outlasted him and won via decision. And Makwan, he gashes out. Once he can't get those takedowns predominantly throughout the fight, then you've got a chance to take him out or win the fight, and that's what he did there. I mean, I think he's got a decent reach advantage here, a couple of inches. Switch stance fighter. I'm not too sure a win over Makwan. I mean, like I said, I've never been a Makwan fan. I don't see it's been impressive. Now, you look at Damon Jackson. I mean, the guy's very scrappy. That's what I like at Kamula Kirk. I think he was at Fight Ready. I've went and kind of had a look around. I think he's just been at his home gym for this one. I think it was at Quest MMA, I remember seeing. So not too sure who he's kind of working out with there. Damon Jackson, we know he comes out at Fortis MMA. A very tough, hard-nosed fighter. Very tough guy that never gives up. Can be in bad positions and can come through in positions like the Bektic fight. Was thoroughly losing that fight, was getting taken down, was down a couple of rounds, comes out in the third round. I think Bektic is a little bit gassed, puts him in a guillotine, puts him to sleep. faces Tapura next, you see that the frailties in his chin show up again. Tapura's got great boxing. Gets knocked out in the first round there. And then he just really ran through Charles Rosa with his grappling. In that, when Charles Rosa can't stop a takedown, you can have dominant times on top against Charles Rosa, and he won that fight very convincingly there. I like Damon Jackson in this spot. I bet him this morning at plus 125. He's one of the dogs I think shouldn't really be a dog here. So I think it's minus 138 on the Camilla Kirk side. That line showed up actually since I bet that. It went to plus 110 for Jackson. I think he should be the betting favourite here. I think that his pace and his heart is going to... It might be a little bit sketchy earlier on. If Camilla Kirk can maybe catch the chin, he can maybe get him out. But I like Damon Jackson's kind of overall fortitude in this fight. Get takedowns, be dominant, just keep going, put the pace on this young guy and kind of drown him out. So I've got Damon Jackson. I think a late stoppage is in play here. So a third round sprinkle maybe on someone like a Damon Jackson via submission could be in play here. So I've got Damon Jackson, and he is my first dog bet of the week. And I am going to have 2, maybe 3 dog bets in this one for this week. But I just need to see what I'm doing with this card yet. This is another interesting fight. Excuse me, guys. Trevin Jones against Javid Basharat. Now, Javid Basharat is a guy that I've knew about. He fights out of London Shoot Fighters down there in the UK, down in England. I've heard about this guy for many years coming through. Never really got the notoriety coming through the regionals here. He's actually got a brother whose name evades me at the minute. I think he's a flyweight, and he's very good himself. So keep an eye on Javid Basharat's brother. His name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he is very, very good. Loved Javid's last performance, and especially with the background of that fight and what happened with the guy he was against. I think it was Oren Kalun, where the guy pretty much called him a terrorist right in front of his face. And I think when you see that fight there, he absolutely just roasted Oren Kalun to the bone in that one there, where he came out and he absolutely beat his ass for like, what I want to say 14 minutes, and decide, right, I'm going to finish this guy, and come out of there and did so accordingly. I thought it was one of the more impressive performances on the Dana White Contender Series, but I do think it was against a tomato can. I don't think it was against a guy, like, I think that guy had like a 16-0 record, but he'd fought like really bad fighters, and he looked a terrible fighter. Javid was popping up on the feet, was taking him down at will. And you look at Javid, I mean, he's fought some guys with bad records recently in the last couple of years, like 2-39, like a couple of years ago. But he also fought Alexander Beskovinarai, I think, at Octagon, in the Octagon promotion in the Czech Republic. And he's only like 11-1, 11-2, who's actually think he's fairly decent. But he's a guy that, like I said, I'm new to coming through the UK regionals. In the UK regionals, you don't, in my opinion, if you don't go through like your cage warriors, you're not fighting the better guys out there. But when you do see him, he is very, very good. And he's got a very tough UFC opponent here in Trevin Jones. I think this is a really tough fight to introduce yourself to the people here in the UFC if you don't watch the Dana White Contender Series. He is going to be the bigger guy, height-wise. I think reach is really kind of even itself out. I think it's very close. Trevin, like I say, he's a southpaw, dangerous. He's a guy that I've not really rated as highly, but he always surprises me, and he's came through in some big spots. I mean, he was getting his ass beat by Timur Valiev, then comes out there, knocks him out. Mario Bautista is losing that fight, knocks him out, and then lost to Sayukub Krakmanov via submission third in the third round last time out, where Sayukub actually really good in that fight, and that's the kind of Trevin Jones that I've kind of been used to seeing a little bit. I was kind of tempted to go with Trevin Jones here. I think the southpaw stance could pose some problems for Basharat, but when I look at Javid's all-around game, I think that he could win this fight on the feet. I think he could use his grappling, his clinch work to win minutes in this fight. So ultimately, I'm going to lean with Javid Basharat. But would it surprise me if Trevin Jones came out there and shocked me? No. But I know some people that are on Javid this week. I'm not going to be one of them. I'm going to sit back and try and accumulate more data against the best opponent I think he's ever fought and kind of go from there. So I'm going to go Javid Basharat. I think he wins via decision in that one. Women's flyweight division, we've got JJ Aldrich against Gillian Robertson. And I like me some JJ Aldrich in this fight, actually. I think that this is a very winnable matchup. against Gillian Robertson, who we all know what Gillian's about at this point. There's no real point in kind of breaking down what her skill set is. She just wants to get you down. She wants to submit you. You can take her down because she's happy being off her back, where she will look for sweeps and so on. On the feet, there's not a hell of a lot there. She's very hittable. She hasn't got great technique. She's got very little power. Both girls haven't got much power here, but I like JJ Aldrich in this fight, and I think she's the underdog. It makes no sense to me how she's the underdog. I know that Gillian's probably got a better strength of schedule, who she has fought. She's coming off a win over Priscilla Cachoeira, where she got the sub in the first round. That's to be expected. Priscilla's not great down there, and she got the fight where she wanted it. If she doesn't get the fight where she wants it, predominantly she loses that fight. The Maverick one's kind of once it stands out. She did get the fight to the ground, but really couldn't get into a dominant position there. The Talos Santos one couldn't get the fight to the ground, got really just dominated there. But your Botelhos, your Courtney Cases, your Sarah Frotas, your Macedos, she gets the fight to the ground predominantly and consistently. She will fish for submissions, and eventually, if you give her enough time, she will get one. To me, I just don't think JJ Aldrich is going to allow that to happen. Now, we have seen her taken down. If you go back, I think you should watch the Juliana Lima fight. Juliana Lima, very strong Brazilian, strong grappling, would look to get the fight to the ground. Wasn't great on the ground, but was very strong, and she ultimately got a lot of takedowns. That was way back in 2016. But since then, I mean, she's shored that up. She's only been taken down, I think, the one time. I think Viana got her down, maybe Lauren Mule actually as well. But outside of that, she's been very, very solid. But again, against lower caliber opposition. Vanessa Demopoulos, she's a grappler. She looks for submissions. Outside of that, she's not much. Courtney Casey hasn't got a great ground game. She's got decent boxing and decent length, but nothing that really stands out. She got boxed up by Sabina Mazo. She beat Lauren Mueller pretty convincingly with her striking. I think it was the one I always go on about that a bit. And I think it was the Viana fight. She was a massive plus 300 underdog in that one. It made no sense, and she bossed that fight. So to me here, I think she outboxes Gillian Robertson. I think she could actually get takedowns here. But she obviously has to be mind her P's and Q's against Robertson, because she'll be happy to go to her back. She'll be happy to be in having the bodies close together where she can potentially get a sweep, get in a position she get on top or get in a dominant position. I like JJ Aldrich in this one. I think there's a chance as well that she can knock her out. JJ is a girl that can rain off a lot of strikes throughout a fight. I like JJ Aldrich in this fight. I've got her to win. I don't think she's got enough. Well, I think she has got enough power to take out Gillian Robertson, because I think Gillian Robertson's got a little bit of quit in her, but more likely this fight goes to decision. I'm going on JJ Aldrich here to win that decision. Matthew Semelsberger against Aj Fletcher's up next. This was the very first fight I actually watched last week, and I really, really, really wanted to bet Aj Fletcher. But you go out there and you have a look and you watch some of the fights, there's just nothing there. Obviously, he's got that fight against Diamani on the Contender Series where he shows his explosiveness, his athletic ability that he's got. He can explode into takedowns. I think he's a football player from the past through college and whatever. You can see that explosiveness. You can see some of the knockout power from the few fights that are out there. I think it was 3 fights that I seen, and there was a couple of amateur fights, one in which he actually lost, which I watched more of. There's just not a hell of a lot out there of this guy, and the guy's got a lot of. The guy's got what's his record? I want to say it's 11-0, 9-0. I think it is actually. Let me bring this up. Sorry, 9-0. I think he comes out of Louisiana. I've seen a picture with him and Dustin Poirier. I think he comes from Tim Crader, who's a former UFC fighter, a guy that brought Dustin Poirier kind of the forefront, brought him into the UFC and into MMA. And like I said, the Diamani knockout is beautiful. Flying knee in the first couple of minutes, you're instantly going to stein this guy. But you look at the guys he's fought, 3-4, 9-17, not great, really not great. And he's blitzing through those guys in the first round with submission. When you look at Semelsberger, he's fought the better caliber opposition. Now, in saying this, his wins to me are not... They don't stand out, but the wins are wins in the UFC. You're in the premier fighting promotion, and you're beating a Carlton minus. He really wasn't great. Jason Witt, we know he's a great wrestler, but we know that if you can just put your finger on his chin, or his fist on his chin, he will topple over. Martin Sano Had no right being in there. The only reason he was in there was because he was Nick Diaz's boy. Hopefully we never see that guy with UFC gloves on again. He went to I don't want to say he went to a competitive decision, I'll say, against Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams, I think he was rebounding after that loss. Came in there, gave a really good account of himself, I thought, but he was against a guy with a little bit more experience and a little bit kind of more know-how, and that really just ultimately played in the favour of like a Chaos Williams, who I think's more of a natural fighter than the guys that he fought. And ultimately, like, just got outboxed at distance with the power of Chaos Williams. Like I say, and then he comes out against Martin Cino, knocks him out in 60 odd seconds or whatever it was. But this should be a tougher fight. I think this outside of the Chaos Williams fight, this will be his toughest fight to date. Aj Fletcher, there's a lot to like. I really wanted to bet him. I really did, guys. He's plus 200. You look at that number, and he could be a live dog in this sport. But honestly, off the 3 fights and a couple of amateur bouts that I've seen, I've just not seen enough. I want to accumulate a little bit more data on him. I want to see him a little bit more. I want to see what he's all about, see if that explosiveness comes off. Because I think Semelsberger's kind of got a reasonable, kind of similar background. He came from the football side there. He's the bigger guy. He's got a dominant reach advantage in this fight as well. And we've seen that he took some big shots from Chaos Williams. He can take a shot as well. So I'm going to lean with Matthew Semelsberger. This is one that's really going to annoy me if I watch this fight on Saturday night and Aj Fletcher comes out here and wins, because I really wanted to go with him, but I just didn't see enough. And I've seen enough of Semelsberger to think that he can win this fight. So Matthew Semelsberger is going to be my pick in that fight there. So I think that's the end of the prelims here. Moving on to the main card, and this to me is the fight of the night. Fireworks. Alex Pereira against Bruno Blindado Silva. I think if you're betting this fight doesn't go to decision. Inside the distance is probably where you play it. You've got the 4-1 record of Alex Pereira, obviously an extensive background in kickboxing through Glory and what be it. I think he's got a win over Izzy Adesanya. That will always be mentioned because, I mean, Izzy's a champion. So anytime you can bring that one out, it's always good. I know it was in a different sport, but it's still, if I was in the position, I'd be pulling that card out as well. Then you've got Bruno Blindado Silva, 22-6 record. And when you look at that 22-6 record, it's an impressive record because his losses, or I should say just his record in general, he's not went and fought easy fights. He's went and got the toughest fights that you can get. He went over to Russia. He went over there, fought your Shlemenkos, fought your Frolovs. You're not going to have a long list of people that are willing to do that. Go over there, like your Kovalev was another one there. And doing it in devastating fashion. This guy is an out-and-out finisher with power throughout the entire fight. We've seen 3rd round finishes. I've seen 4th round finishes. Now, he does get hit a little bit, and this is the interesting thing here, because you've got Pereira, who we've seen against Michailidis. I thought the first round wasn't great, and I thought Michailidis he gassed, and from there he was a sitting duck for the knee of Pereira. But you always kind of have to mind that with this guy because he has got such massive, massive power. He has fight-ending power, as Silva has. And I'm just interested to see how this one goes because I have seen Bruno Silva attempt takedowns. I think if he attempts takedowns, the Michailidis tried to momentarily get that fight to the ground, and Pereira pretty much stopped him. But I have seen it. If he can come out here, look to kind of strike a little bit, but ultimately try and get your hands on him and get them to the ground, I think he can get him down there. I think he has got Submission Wednesday's name. Not a hell of a lot, honestly. There's the 1 and 2 that stick out, but for me, I'm going to pick Bruno Silva here. I'm just interested because if these guys stand up, then honestly, I have no clue who's going to get knocked out. You try and maybe lean Pereira, but I think Silva is a destroyer, and we've seen that in this fight in his UFC career with 3 wins inside the distance and 2 in the first round, wins over Wellington Turman. That win's always going to look good in your record. Andrew Sanchez was a Ultimate Fighter winner and knocked him out in the 3rd round. And then Jordan Wright's nothing really to write home about, but Jordan Wright was landing some shots in him, which you think, if Pereira lands those shots, it could be problems for Silva. I'm going to go with Bruno Silva. I think he's going to knock out Alex Pereira, or he's going to submit him. I think if he knocks him out, I think it's going to be ground and pound. Is what I'm kind of maybe what I should have said. I think he's going to knock out Alex Pereira. I quite like Bruno Silva in this spot. He's plus 150 at the minute. I'm interested to see if that line sticks, if it goes up a little bit. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that. Most likely, I'm going to bet Bruno Silva this week. I think that I like the matchup. I think he can get takedowns, and I just think he's such a dangerous bastard with his striking that he could knock out Pereira as well. So I'm going to go Bruno Silva. I'm going to go a late second round TKO, probably due to ground and pound, but it's a fight I am really thoroughly looking forward to. Pereira's a big dude, big reach, so I'm interested in that one there. Dober against Terrance McKinney is up next. Terrance McKinney, props to him for jumping in here against Drew Dober. I mean, you're coming from Matt Frivola to Faris Siam to a guy that was in the top 15 not long ago, and Drew Dober. Balls to that guy, and in 2 weeks' notice as well, like 1 week's notice, probably a week and a bit. And saying that he took no damage against Faris Siam, so if you're getting an opportunity here against a guy like Dober who's probably hovering around that top 20 mark in the lightweight division, you take that opportunity here. You've seen what he was all about in that fight. Looked to get the fight to the ground, he got the fight to the ground, got the submission. That's what he's all about. He's super dangerous, big power, will throw big shots, obviously has wrestling. But for me, I'm still not sold in this kid. And I said this last video, I picked Faris Siam. I'm still not overly sold on it. And this might be another kind of like Bryce Mitchell thing here, where Bryce Mitchell showed me on Saturday what he's all about. Got to give that guy respect, and I need to kind of open my eyes to some of these guys a little bit quicker. Terrance McKinney's just not one that I see being on the trajectory of like a Bryce Mitchell and kind of winning numerous fights and proving me wrong. I think it's a step up too soon. Props to him for taking the fight. I think he will come out quick. You look at Dober, though, he has been submitted in the past. So if I'm Terrance McKinney, I look to kind of wrestle him here. He has been wrestled in the past, obviously. He's fought a higher caliber opposition with your Riddales, your Makhachevs, Alexander Hernandez, I think, is of a higher level right now than McKinney, even though I think that could be kind of competitive. You've seen Beneil Dariush taken down, you've seen Camacho. So he can be taken down. I'm not saying that McKinney couldn't come out here in the first round and catch a submission. And his losses, I mean, he lost via submission to Beneil, top 5 guy. Islam, top 5 guy. Auburn Mercy, not long with promotion, but was dangerous on the ground. Efrain Escudero, dangerous on the ground. So his submission defense is something you're going to target if you're Terrance McKinney. I just don't see it last. I think Drew Dober's wily enough to... I think the first round might be a little bit sketchy for him. He might get taken down a couple of times, so I think he avoids those submissions. But ultimately, I think in the rounds, I think he lands more big shots. I think he can knock out Terrance McKinney, and I'm going to pick him via late stoppage in this fight. So Drew Dober is going to be my pick there, but let's see what Terrance McKinney's about. If he comes out here and gets this guy down, gets him out of there, then I really have to kind of open my eyes and make sure that maybe this guy's a lot better than I kind of gave him credit for. And sometimes that happens. You just don't see a fighter's true qualities until he really has to show you. And like I say, sometimes I'm slow with stuff like that, but I'm willing to see it here. Khalil Rountree Jr. against Karl Roberson. It's the curious case of Khalil Rountree, in my opinion. It's what Khalil shows up, because sometimes he shows up, he looks an absolute stone-cold killer. In the Eric Anders fight, you see that fight there where he absolutely wrecked Eric Anders. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. Knocked him down a couple of times, maybe 3-4 times, beat his ass badly. Then he comes back against Dion Kutalaba, gets knocked out in the first round, loses to Marcin Praknil where he just doesn't throw, and then he shows up against Modestas Bukauskas and really puts it on him, gets a TKO or a knockout in the second round. He busts the guy's leg up, but looked great in the first round. If this, to me here, is going to be a kickboxing fight, I lean the overall better kickboxer, and to me that is Karl Roberson. Like I said, I think it's a pick 'em at the minute, minus 110. That's where, in my opinion, it kind of should be. He's coming off a couple of losses. He obviously had that bad blood against Marvin Vettori. He fought Brendan Allen. So he's been subbed twice in the first round, which is something that I very much doubt Khalil Rountree is going to target. Like, oh, I need to get this great guy at the ground. gets some submissions, and look to kind of take him down there. This to me is going to be a kickboxing fight, and to me, the better kickboxer is Karl Roberson. No, I don't want to say by a mile, but I do just overall think he's the better guy on the feet. Both guys, I think, are 6'1", both southpaws. I think the slight edge on the reach is to Khalil Rountree. But Khalil absorbs a little bit more. He kind of gets hit on a little bit more than what Karl Roberson does. And we've seen that maybe if this fight goes to the ground, Karl Roberson could potentially take that there. We've seen him submit Kopylov. Back in the day, I remember I bet on Kopylov in that fight. That wasn't a great fight for him. But to me, I think from what I've seen as well, I watched an interview. Karl Roberson's out there at Glory MMA and Fitness with the man, James Krause. I love the game plans that James Krause puts together. I think he can use that to his advantage here. So ultimately, I'm going to pick Karl Roberson. I think he wins a decision. Potentially could get a knockout. But would it surprise me if Khalil Rountree came out there and showed up again and showed how dangerous he can be? Because he really can. But for me, I'm on the Roberson side there. Sodiq Yusuff against Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy Caceres, in a big fight here for Caceres, I think, because he's in the best form of his life. He's reeling off wins. I don't want to say against high caliber guys. He was always guys that win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and his wins were never great. I mean, wins over Martin Bravo, wins over Rolando D, the guys that you should be beating, especially if you're a multi-time vet, like UFC fight veteran like Caceres, who's crafty, but when he gets these step-ups, he should never really be winning those fights. Your Yair Rodriguez, your Chrome Gracies, like they were step-ups against guys with different skill sets, but with good skill sets in there. But he's went on to win his last 5. He was an underdog to Chase Hooper. I bet that one for Caceres. No idea how the heck he was an underdog in that one, but cashed a nice dog bet there. Austin Springer, he retired from the sport when they're on short notice. He missed weight as well, did Springer. Kevin Kroom, tough, but not spectacular. Sung Woo Choi, I will give some credence to that one because I think Sung Woo Choi is decent. Choi was deducted the point in the first round. I think he was chasing a little bit. But ultimately came out there, got a beautiful rear naked choke in the second round. So he is in the best spot of his career at the minute, Bruce Leroy Caceres. But to me, this is a massive fight for Sodiq Yusuff to come over some of the health problems that he's had. I think they've been a little bit documented out there. He's had some problems coming off his first loss in the UFC against Arnie Allen, which Arnold Allen's just shown he's an absolute G, and he's got himself a big fight next week in London against Dan Hooker. And what potentially could honestly be a main event, because I'm hearing that the Russian fighters could get pulled. So it wouldn't surprise me if Aspinall needs to fight a shortcoming coming in here, that you maybe move Allen and Hooker up into that main event. But it is what it is. Arnold Allen's a top 10 guy in that division. There's no shame in that loss. He landed the more strikes, just couldn't stop the takedowns from Arnold Allen in that one. But before that, we've seen him against Gabriel Benitez, took some shots there, landed that big knockout blow. Andre Fili landed some big, heavy blows in that fight. Like I say, the takedown defense is something that I think good wrestlers in that division will take advantage of. Caceres, to me, has just not got a high-caliber wrestler that's going to get the fight to the ground, not unless someone slips or he gets an advantageous position where he can get the back. To me, I just think there's a really good tailor-made matchup for Sodiq Yusuff. I bet him with Miranda Maverick. You just have to. He's got some like big fight adjusting power. Like if he can land something big on Caceres, I think it might back him up quite substantially. I think if I'm Caceres, I look to get this fight to the ground. I just don't see that happening. Honestly, his takedown accuracy is fairly high, but you've got to remember he's faced pretty low opposition within the UFC, even though he's had plenty of UFC fights. I like Sodiq Yusuff. I think Caceres is very crafty enough to stay in this fight. It might be a little bit frustrating for Sodiq Yusuff in this one. Could get a knockout. I think it's going to go to decision, but my pick in that one is going to be Sodiq Yusuff. Co-main event of the night in the bantamweight division, we've got the Magic Man Marlon Moraes against Song Yadong. And I mean, Marlon Moraes has really just fallen off a cliff recently, and it's been sad to see because this guy is a killer. I mean, he's a stone cold killer who can ultimately take you out in the first round, or he can be taken out in the first round. But he's got cardio issues. We've seen that in the fight against Merab, who we know that Merab's a tough guy, can go and go and go for many minutes of the fight and just keep a torrid pace in you. And ultimately, that's what happened in that fight there, where he hurt Merab, looked like he had him out of there, probably should have had him out of there, and then gassed. And then he was just at the will of Merab Dvalishvili and got taken out there in the second round. Got knocked out big against Rob Font with that long straight shot down the pipe, which hurt him. And Corey Sandhagen, Corey Sandhagen's one of the legit guys in that division as well. So this is a humongous fight. You cannot see the UFC keeping a guy with the pay grade that he's on, and Marlon Moraes really staying around with 4 straight losses. I went in and looked a little bit to what's going on, and even the Aldo fight, like, that was a split. So really, he could be on a 5-fight losing streak. He lost to Cejudo, obviously, as well. So it's kind of interesting. He's fighting for his career here, in my opinion. Looked into him a little bit. Seen that he's went to Tiger Muay Thai and he's working with Peter Yan's coach. And I think it's John Hutchinson. He's a guy that's very well respected over there in Thailand. Obviously, Peter Yan's boxing is exemplary, very crisp. So I'm interested to see if that kind of helps him a little bit, but I'm just not sure it's going to be enough. I think the old Marlon's still going to come in here, look to really put it on you early. Could get Song Yadong out of there. I just don't think he does. I think he's going to get caught in an exchange here against Song Yadong. And we've seen that Song has got some massive power with his finisher, Julio Arce. We see it against Alejandro Perez. The guy, if he catches you with that perfect counter shot, he can knock you out. I like the fact that I don't think Marlon's got great pace over 15 minutes. I think he's going to come out hard early. Ultimately, he's going to slow down. I think in an exchanges, he's just going to get caught with something. And I see Song Yadong knocking him out. I'm actually going to pick him, Song Yadong. And like I said, I love his last 2 wins. Split decision win over Casey Kenny. Good win over Julio Arce. This is a jump up against a guy who's won belts in previous organizations, fought for belts in the UFC, beat good guys in the UFC. I just think that Marlon's going to leave his chin out there and he's going to get caught right in the end of it. So I might look at a spot where I maybe parlay Song Yadong up if I'm pretty confident he gets it done early, which I am. I've got to be a first-round knockout for Song Yadong here, but like I say, Marlon Moraes is dangerous and he can hurt you at any spot and any time of that fight. But Yadong's going to be the pick. And the main event of the night, we've got Thiago Santos against Magomed Ankalaev here. I think you'd have to be a very ballsy, brave guy if you're going to come out here and pick Thiago Santos, especially what we've seen of Santos recently. I thought he looked terrible against Johnny Walker. That fight is just should be like etched from the memories of the UFC. But that was a big win for him, considering he coming off 3 losses to Johnny Jones, Glover, and to Rakic, who, I mean, Glover's got the belt. Rakic is probably in your top 5 there, but now he's got Johnny Walker, in my opinion, is probably not even a top 10 guy in that division. But now you've got a guy in Ankalaev who is definitely a top 5 guy, who's definitely the top, I think, up there with some of the toughest guys, matchup-wise, that he's ever faced. And like I say, Ankalaev, to me, is going to win this fight. Just need to see how quick and how decisive he does it, because sometimes he will fight. He won't come out guns a-blazing. He will look to just kind of win with his beautiful, like point fighting style, but can also get takedowns. You've seen that in the Volkan fight, got a takedown, but was just picking him apart at distance. The Krylov one there, I bet Krylov in that spot. And initially, I think he lost the first round. I was like, right, Krylov, keep this going. Couldn't keep it going. Just the overall game of Ankalaev come in there and got the takedowns and really just blew him apart with his top game there. Ran through Ion Cutelaba a couple of times there. So the guy's got some big power. I mean, you can mention his knockout of Dalcha was a beautiful there in the 3rd round. He's got skills all over the place here, and I think skill for skill, he's just the better overall. He's just a better fighter than Thiago Santos. So at minus 450 at what he is here in the UK, you can pile him up. I think he's pretty safe, honestly. You still look at that L to Paul Craig at like 459 in round number 3. And it's still, I remember me, I bet him big in that spot as well. And that's a rough spot when you look back. But since then, I mean, you just etch that fight out your memory, because since then he's just been on a roll, and he's looked like the guy that potentially could hold the belt in that division one day. I'm just interested to see how he does it. Does he get him done early? How aggressive is Thiago going to be in this spot? Because I think if he gets too aggressive, he will put down, he will lose rounds just by Ankalaev being heavy on top, looking for submissions and so on. And I don't think Thiago's looked the same since he came back for those knee injuries against Jon Jones. So Ankalaev's going to be the spot there. I think inside the distance is a good one as well. But I'm not going to be picking Thiago Santos. Ankalaev is going to be the pick in that one there. So guys, 45 minutes. Somehow my throat has kind of stayed together. Much appreciate you kicking about with me. If you throw a thumbs up in the video, it helps. I want to know who you guys are picking. So comment section down below if you're watching this after the fact and not in the chat there. Let me know your picks there. I will put timestamps down with all the fight once I get a bit of time to do so. I'm going to go into the chat here and just to see what is going on. Say hello to everybody because I've kind of just tried to get through this. Sup, brother Will? Good few bets this past weekend. I did very well. Ulanbekov got robbed. I don't agree with you. Well, I do agree with you there, actually. I actually had Ulanbekov winning that fight, but I bet on Tim Elliott, so I'm like, I don't care. I cashed that check. So I cashed that bet, I should say. It was great for parlays. It was. I didn't really have. I think I had one with a Cage Warriors and Colby over 2.5. So that's kind of where I went. Kennedy looked decent against Martinez. I might fade Matinho. I wouldn't blame you in the slightest. Daniel Edwards, what's happening, Dan? I hope you're well. Kennedy is one of the few UFC fighters Matinho is capable of beating. I agree. Props and cash in Tim Elliott. I know he had a little thing for Ulanbekov last week. Like I said, honestly, I scored that fight for Ulanbekov. So it is what it is, though. I managed to cash that one. Strong leads are Javid and Ank this week. I lean Alex too, but not sure if I want to bet that. Moraes, that was a great bet. Should have bet more on her, honestly. Rogue Strummer, hope you're well. Turner was a sniper. Like I say, I thought that was it. Jalen Turner's a scary dude now. He has started to put it all together. Like I said, I was on the Malarkey side. Kind of liked what I see on Malarkey with that takedown. I thought, keep going with that. I think you can win the fight, but got sniped. Turner's just a really good fighter. What's up, Jack Attack? Hope you're well. Minus Wet Sano is our worst lot of UFC wins. I don't think so. Like I say, the Chaos, I don't think that was a bad one. Yeah, that was a decent one. Speaking of Chaos, REP Randy Brown, that's a good fight. Let me see. Beverly Hills Ninja almost murdered him. That's true. But like I say, that's what he's known for. I just like Bruno Silva, man. I think that he's a good bet this week, but he might obviously come out here and get starched in the first minute. So I think Ankalaev has in the bag. I agree. Song KO. Don't be scared. I think someone's max betting that. Marlon quits with that poor cardio. I agree. Bouncing off the walls when Craig won. I remember thinking, I've cashed that bet. Let's go. And then I'm like, you mother... I cannot believe he went and did that, but also was obviously very, very happy for him because he's Scottish. I know Paul. So, yeah. Dober, Yadong, Ankalaev plus 155. I don't mind that. Ankalaev, Dober, Maverick. I don't mind that either. I like... Who was the other one I like in there? Maverick, Ankalaev. Who was the other one I liked? Yusuff. Yusuff was the one there. So, I missed the part about Pereira and Silva. Could just see her. I'm on Bruno Silva. Charlie, that's who I'm on there. So, guys, thank you very much for sticking around. I wasn't expecting to go 49 minutes with this throat, but somehow got through it without even taking a drink as well. So, guys, until next week, we're back for UFC London next week. A lot of local fighters on the card. Aspinall against Volkov, but I'm kind of hearing that might not kind of go through, but we will see. Until next week, guys, all the very, very best. Good luck with your bets, DraftKings, whatever it is you do. All the very, very best and enjoy your week. And let's look forward to these